This is the Louis T. Network.
In the Lab Room.
See, first come the preseason, and I don't take a day off. And then my team was 6-10, and we ain't smell a playoffs. Yeah, I seen the Super Bowl, but I heard they just play balls. A lot of teams had injuries. Sam Bradford had to take off. Go hard in the offseason, but you don't know the half. Before you know, we gon' look up, and we ready for the draft. They dressed up in that suit tie, and I don't know how to act. They waiting, so patient, so they can put on that hat. Who else could it be? But your man Luke. Okay, so when she asks you where you was at, you tell her you in the lab room. Who else could it be? Who? But your man Luke. Okay, so when she asks where you was at, you can tell her you was in the lab room. Yeah.
In the Lab Room.
Who else could it be but me? Your man, Louis T. Welcome. You are in the lab room. I, of course, am your host, Louis T. Thank you for joining me here on the program. Third installment of the In the Lab Room Draft Podcast Series. Man, it's starting to heat up, folks. We got a lot to talk about today on the In the Lab Room podcast. A lot is starting to transpire out in Indy at the 2016 NFL Scouting Combine. I'm going to start throwing you some tidbits from there in a second. And we're going to jump into the 7-on-7 drill later on in the show. Going to talk about the top 7 players that need to put up or shut up on the field drills at the 2016 NFL Scouting Combine. So we'll get into the 7-on-7 drill a little bit later on. But, man, let me jump straight into the melon dropping session. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind. Let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louis T. Double E. Let me open up your mind. Get you thinking a little bit. Is Joey Bosa falling in the draft? Can't be. We haven't even done anything yet, right? Let's get into this draft rumor mill, man. So word on the street is Joey Bosa's falling in the draft. Now, first and foremost, remember what I told you in episode 1 of the In the Lab Room Draft Podcast Series. Believe half of what you see, none of what you hear, even if it's spat by me. Again, words of advice to live by, especially this time of the year when we're talking NFL draft. That being said, I told you before that Joey Bosa was one of those guys we needed to watch. Interview-wise, teams were going to want to talk to him about the suspension. Teams were going to want to talk to him about the lack of production and the fall-off from 2014, 13.5 sacks to 5.5 sacks in 2015. And so that was going to be a point of emphasis in terms of conversations that teams were going to want to have with Bosa. There's no way his stock is falling because of that, though. I think it's another one of those situations where there's a lot going on right now, and there's a lot of garbage to sort through, and you're going to get a bunch of different rumors and a lot of stuff to chew on. And it's up to you what you want to digest and what you want to put into your system, okay? This is one of those rumors that I look at, and there may be some teams that have some very, very genuine questions about Joey Bosa. his production, his ability to get it done at the next level when attention is being paid to him, and the off-the-field issues. But at the end of the day, let's define what falling means, okay? Falling for Joey Bosa isn't Aaron Rodgers-like. It's not from number 1 overall potentially at Tennessee to, say, 21 to the Washington Redskins. No, falling for Joey Bosa is going from 1 to the Tennessee Titans, or 4 to the Cowboys, 6 to the Ravens. That's falling for Joey Bosa. He's going to still go in the top 6 to me. Top 10, there's no way this guy makes it out of the top 10. So let's put that to rest right now. Joey Bosa isn't falling anywhere. His stock isn't plummeting all of a sudden. Don't believe the hype. But I will tell you this. There is a guy that a lot of people are chattering about right now, and his stock is actually rising right now. And again, how do we actually know this? How is this tangible? How do we know that Mississippi State quarterback Dak Prescott's stock is rising right now? We don't, okay? All you can go off is what people have been saying. And a guy that I trust a lot this time of the year, Matt Miller of Bleacher Report, is talking about how a lot of people at the Combine, they're buzzing about Dak Prescott and how smart he is and how he improved his passing. And that was something that I noticed with him in 2015. This was one of the first times I actually looked at a program. And Mississippi State took a step back. Remember, in 2014, they were ranked number 1 in the nation for quite some time in that season. And they took a step back out of the spotlight this year. They lost some players, and they knew they weren't going to be as good. And it seemed like the program said, you know what? We're going to allow you to mature as a quarterback, as a passer. We're not going to ask you to run as much this year. We're going to allow you to show the NFL scouts, evaluators, that you can pass from the pocket, that you have matured as a pocket passer, that you can drive the football down the field. You're not just a read option quarterback. You're not just a guy that's athletic, that's throwing the football, but you're a passer that happens to be athletic. And he showed a lot of that in 2015. He improved a lot from the pocket. He's a smart guy. He seems like a leader on and off the field. They love his qualities. And Dak Prescott, all of a sudden, is a hot commodity these days. About those second-tier quarterbacks. After you get past the first 4 in the draft, that, of course, being Wentz, Goff, you've got the big kid out of Memphis, and also Connor Cook. After you get past that group, there's an opportunity. There's space and opportunity for guys to really step up. Cardale Jones, Christian Hackenberg. And you could probably lump Hackenberg in with that first 4. And I've called him the Big 5 because I think that Houston is his destination. If everything checks out with Hackenberg and that whole brass loves what they hear from him and he interviews well, goes out on the field, rips it, passes all of the eye tests and all the tests in the classroom and in the interview room, if he does all of those things, I think he's going to end up a Houston Texan. Whether that's in the first round, second round, I don't know. But I feel confident that they feel like they can reform Christian Hackenberg because all the talent is there. But Dak Prescott is a guy that is intriguing because the funny buzzword and phrase this year is everyone's looking for their Kirk Cousins, which to me is hilarious, being a Redskins fan, to hear people saying they're looking for their Kirk Cousins, a guy that isn't selected in the first round, isn't selected in the second round, but in the middle of the draft, in those middle rounds, you get a guy, and the comp that I'm hearing for Dak Prescott is Russell Wilson. That's the name that keeps coming up. Both of those guys, not huge quarterbacks. Dak Prescott right there around 6'1" in terms of height, and they think that he has some Russell Wilson-esque qualities about him in terms of his moxie, his poise, the positive nature in which he affects teammates in the locker room, and his charisma and the way he carries himself and his leadership qualities. They all scream Russell Wilson to a lot of people. And the dramatic leaps and bounds he took as a passer in the pocket have people believing that Dak Prescott could come off the board as early as the second round in the 2016 NFL draft. And that's news to me. And he's a name that keeps coming up, and I'm really starting to buy what some people are selling with Dak Prescott becoming a second round selection potentially in this draft. We'll see. A lot of time between now and then, and again, believe half of what you see, none of what you hear. So again, can't confirm nor deny how hot of a commodity he is, but I've not only heard this from Matt Miller, but I've heard this from other sources as well. So I'm starting to believe that Dak Prescott is in fact gaining traction as we start this draft process. Did you hear Derrick Henry, Alabama running back, Heisman Trophy winning Derrick Henry, Alabama running back, showed up at the combine and was surprised when he stepped on the scale and weighed in at a paltry 247 pounds. My goodness, that man is huge. Now, let's put it in its proper perspective, folks. The man played at 242 pounds at Alabama. So it's not like this guy went and ballooned from 230 to 247 pounds. He was a big man at Alabama. No one's denying that. But normally this time of the year, when we're talking combine, guys get in the best shape of their lives. They've got right around 2 months after the college football season, or about a month for most good teams. You play right at the beginning of January. You've got about a month, close to 2 months for a lot of teams, or players I should say, because some of these bowl games take place at the end of December. Combine usually gets underway at the end of February. So you're looking at close to 2 months for most of these guys to prepare for the biggest test of your life. You show up in the best shape that you could possibly get in. You know all of the questions on the exam. You go in and you ace it. So guys usually come in best shape of their life, blaze the 40, jump as high as they possibly can, jump as far as they possibly can, do the on-the-field drills. They know every single drill that's going to be thrown at them. They've practiced them ad nauseum. So it's not like they don't know what's coming. And they usually go out and have a great showing, which allows them to maximize their draft stock and make the most money possible in their first contract. That being said, 247 pounds for a guy that didn't need to gain any weight seems a little suspicious to me. I don't know about you, but to me, that seems a little iffy. And he was surprised by his 247-pound weigh-in. But look, let me tell you this right now. The track record on Alabama backs, not good, okay? Mark Ingram, he's not bad. He's not great. Didn't live up to the Heisman hype, okay? Eddie Lacy, we've seen what Eddie's done over the last 2 years. Great rookie campaign, got in the best shape of his life for the combine. It carried over into his rookie season. It came easy to him. He almost ate his way to the fullback position in year 2. His coach chastised him on the way out, on the exit interviews, and said, hey, he's got to come back in much better shape next season in order for him to be the Eddie Lacy that we drafted and that we need to be effective. And oh, don't get me started on Trent Richardson, who looks like is going to get another shot in the National Football League, this time with the Baltimore Ravens. So Alabama running back track history, not the best. That being said, I'm looking forward to Derrick Henry coming in and blazing the combine. I'm hearing people talk about this guy running 4.4. I'm hearing about this guy jumping about a 43 in the vert. They're expecting his explosiveness to be off the charts. It wouldn't surprise me because you see the burst, okay? When you watch him at Alabama, when you see him get to the second level, how many times do guys catch him from behind? Not very often, okay? We saw it in the national championship game versus Clemson. Got a seam, took it to the house. We saw it last year in the playoffs when he did it to Ohio State. He's a guy that is dangerous, that can make it happen. And so I'm not questioning this guy's athleticism. But to not show up a little bit lighter than 247, a little bit sketchy to me. But we'll see. May not make one bit of difference. But again, he's already big. I didn't think he needed to put on any weight coming up to the combine. Nice to hear Cardale Jones is acquitting himself well at the combine. I loved one of the quotes, and he's been coached up. All these guys have been coached up on what to say, especially the guys that are going to be drilled in these interviews because of some of their off-the-field transgressions or some of the questions they may have about guys in terms of how smart are they, what's their football IQ, or how motivated they are. And Cardale Jones is one of those guys where we question his maturity and we question how high of a football IQ does he have. And I thought this was a very interesting quote. And again, he's been coached up, so I expect this from him. But again, I'm glad he's going out and executing it well. Same thing Jameis Winston did last year, this time at the combine when he was in front of the media for the first time. They drilled him on the shoulder. They drilled him about all of his off-the-field transgressions, and I thought he handled that situation magnificently. And this was the quote from Cardale Jones that lets me know he's been coached up well, he took well to the coaching, and now he's going out and he's executing the game plan to a T. They asked him a question about how he feels about potentially getting a job in the National Football League, and this was his response. I don't want a job in the National Football League. I want a career. You go, Cardale, you go. That's the way to answer that question. And I like how he started out this process. Let's see if he's able to go through the interviews. And he was one of those guys on my list of the top 7 guys that needed to nail the interviews at the combine. I believe he was number 6 on that list. If you haven't had a chance to check out that list yet, go back to episode 1 of the In the Lab Room Draft Pod series for that list and more. So in any event, I like the way he handled that. Now, I hope he goes out, handles the interviews, performs well on the field, and gives himself a shot at not only being drafted in this year's draft, because he's going to get drafted by someone, but gives himself the best opportunity to land somewhere where he can actually get an opportunity to play down the road. So that's your gym dropping session and your draft rumor mill for today. A lot going on at the combine, as you can see. Had a lot more to throw your way today, but it's time for us to hit the field, man. It's time for that 7-on-7 drill. Let's jump into the list today, and we're talking about the top 7 guys that need to put up or shut up on the field, on the drills at the 2016 NFL Scouting Combine. And this is a hearty list because these are some guys that I've got questions about. I don't know about you, but I've got some serious questions about some of these guys as to what they're going to do, and if they don't perform according to what we believe and what we've seen on tape. And for some guys, that's the biggest problem, is that we haven't seen them perform. We don't know exactly what to expect, and so we're going in with a question mark, and they need to answer some of these question marks with resounding answers in order to maximize their draft stock. Let's hit this list of the top 7 guys that need to put up or shut up on the field with their drills at the 2016 NFL Scouting Combine. We start at number 7. Notre Dame wide receiver Will Fuller. He's a guy that we know is extremely fast, and I fully expect Will Fuller to be a low 4.4, high 4.3 guy. He's going to blaze it in terms of speed, and he's going to show off the athleticism. But what he lacked at Notre Dame wasn't a flair for the dramatic. Guy made big catch after big catch for the Fighting Irish throughout his career. A number of game-winning touchdowns for him. But he also dropped the football a lot. And what a lot of scouts, and me included, and I'm no professional scout. Like I tell you all the time, never claimed to have been anything other than a professional football watcher. That's what I am. That's what I claim to be. But I know what my eyes see. And as a Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan myself, I've seen a number of drops out of Will Fuller. And I can tell you right now that he doesn't have natural hand-catching ability. So what he has to show at the combine is that he can catch the football. So don't want to see it hitting the ground a lot. For Will Fuller, the gauntlet drill is going to be huge, and I can easily see Will Fuller being one of those guys that cheats the drill, doesn't run it fast, doesn't stay on that straight and narrow line, and is slowing down to make sure he catches the football. I could see Will Fuller being a guy that cheats the gauntlet drill, but I want to see him catch the football. I want to see him high point some balls. I want to see him be aggressive, attack the football, and catch it. Not a lot of body catches out of him. I want to see him look comfortable catching the football, and I'm telling you right now, I'm pretty sure scouts, evaluators, and coaches are looking for the same thing from Will Fuller. The difference between him ending up in the second round and possibly falling to the third round will be his ability to catch the football cleanly, because we know that he can take the top off of the defense at the next level, and if he can just catch the football, he's going to do a lot of good for himself in terms of his draft stock. You move on to the next guy on the list of the top 7 players that need to put up or shut up on the field drills at the 2016 NFL Scouting Combine. It's Noah Spence, defensive end / outside linebacker from Eastern Kentucky. To me, he's shown the athleticism and the ability to be one of the most highly rated pass rushers in this draft at the Senior Bowl. I think he blew a lot of people away with his athleticism there, but nothing was timed. No one can actually put a tangible time on Noah Spence at the Senior Bowl. Here's an opportunity for him to go out and show and reinforce that, yes, I am the most athletic and explosive pass rusher in this draft. He needs to go out, run a good 40. And I'm interested to see him in the conversion drills when he takes his hand out of the dirt and stands up, and they ask him to flip his hips, open up at a 45-degree angle, and turn and chase, come back to the football, pick it off. I want to see if he's comfortable out in space. Show the athleticism and the versatility to be a 3-4 outside linebacker that can stand up and not only rush, but also be a guy that can drop into coverage. I'll be looking for all those things from Noah Spence, and if he can check off those boxes, I think this guy could easily be a top 10 pick. Definitely a top 15 if he goes and ace those interviews, and I talked about him on the list of the top 7 guys that need to nail the interviews at the Combine. So make no mistake about it, his interviews probably are going to trump whatever he does on the field, but he can only help himself by performing well at the Combine on the field. If he doesn't perform at the level that a lot of people expect him to, that could raise some flags and maybe make some people go back and watch the tape. And then you might have some more questions and a little bit more apprehension of pulling the trigger on a guy with the off-the-field issues if he doesn't check the boxes athletically at the Combine on the field. You move on to the number 5 player that I believe needs to put up or shut up on the field with the drills at the 2016 NFL Scouting Combine. And it's running back out of the Ohio State University, Ezekiel Elliott. Here's a guy that has talked a good talk, and much like his running back counterpart that could potentially go in the first round, probably won't, in Derrick Henry, he talked about wanting to go to the Cowboys, which, look, anybody would say that. They have the best run-blocking offensive line in all of the National Football League. And also, it also happens to be a team that has the number 4 pick in the draft. So why wouldn't you say, yeah, I want to be drafted by the Dallas Cowboys? With that being said, though, he also has said, yeah, I'm going to go out and I'm going to blaze the Combine. I'm going to run a 4.5 or better. And so now you've already put your foot in your mouth. You've got people expecting you to go out and run this time. Now you got to come and actually put up. You got to go out and perform now, because you've already set the table, you've set the bar, and you've already told us, hey, look for a 4.5 or better for me. And so that's what we're looking for. And if he wants to cement himself, not just as a first-round pick, but if you want to make yourself as much money as possible and you want to go to the Cowboys, you want to make a team like the Cowboys think twice, and I don't see him being a draft pick of the Cowboys at 4, but if you want a team to say, wow, we may have to take Ezekiel Elliott because he may not be around at 20. He may not be around at, 25. We may have to take him here. Maybe they had an idea. We could take this guy and we could trade back into the first round and get him if he's still hanging around at 27. He may not be around. If he goes out, runs a 4.47 at 225 pounds, there's no way this guy's going to last past the top 17, I believe. So he could really run himself. And I think from a speed standpoint, his 40 time, to me, because I believe the agility, all of those things, he's going to check those boxes. I don't have any doubts about his ability to cut on a dime, change direction, accelerate, all of those things. I have no doubts about Ezekiel Elliott and his ability to do that. What is his straight line speed? I remember a 90-yard touchdown that he had in the 2014 championship game versus Oregon. No, it was against Alabama in the semifinal game of the playoffs. And I just thought to myself, wow, I didn't know you were that fast. And you see the explosion. You saw it against Oregon in the championship game last year. You've seen it throughout the 2015 campaign. He's explosive. Now we just want to put a number to that and put a time to that explosiveness. Let's see what he runs. If he runs fast enough, this guy's going to run himself right into a top 15 pick, potentially, in this draft. You move on to the number 4 player that needs to put up or shut up with the on-the-field drills at the 2016 NFL Scouting Combine. To hear the rest of this podcast and more, go to the website louistnetwork.com, or you can find this podcast and more on iTunes or Stitcher. That's louistnetwork.com or on iTunes and Stitcher.